Hey girls, in this video I just wanted to address some frequently asked questions that you probably will have as well. This might help you a little bit just at the start of things. It can be kind of overwhelming in a sense when you first start something that you haven't done before, whether it's following a tracked or programmed training program, or it's tracking macros or learning more about nutrition, or just being accountable and just trying to be on the right path and be consistent. Um, it can be overwhelming at times, so there's always going to be questions. Um, I really request or encourage, I should say, you to really review over everything before you start asking questions or before you get excited or worried or concerned or anything like that, because there's always something that you um, can learn, and there's always some information that you may not um, really focus or listen to initially, and then you come back and you start to understand things a bit better. So typically I find that I do provide quite a lot of informational content um, at the beginning of a service, or a whole chunk of knowledge straight up, and sometimes it can be overwhelming, but I do encourage you to just review things or look over everything and then just review it again when you can, because everything has a purpose and everything's going to help you towards your goal. So moving forwards, obviously if you do have questions, you're welcome to ask questions in the Facebook group. The reason why we have the group setting is just so you ask a question, I answer it, everyone gets the answer, and there's no stupid questions. As the saying goes, every question's a good question. Other people just don't want to ask it, so be sure to ask whatever you like. But anyways, I'm going to get into these questions now, or these frequently asked questions that I wrote down, and this should help you to clear anything up that you're not too sure about. So the first one is tracking when eating out. So obviously the goal here is to track your calorie intake, because that's going to determine whether you gain weight or lose weight, etc. So being consistent with your macros will help you to be consistent with your calories, which will then help you to lose the body fat that you're looking to lose, or build the muscle that you're looking to build. So tracking when eating out can be a little bit tricky. Um, on MyFitnessPal, which is the nutritional app that we use, there are a lot of foods that are a lot of restaurants and places like that, fast food places also, that have macronutrient information on MyFitnessPal, so you can just type it in and it's right there, which is great and convenient. An alternative is to basically just guesstimate. So guesstimating is much better than not tracking at all and having no idea, and then having a calorie intake graph on your MyFitnessPal that looks really inconsistent. So even if you're just guesstimating, it's still better to track something than to track nothing. But if you were to go out to a restaurant, the more often you track stuff at home, and the more consistent you are with learning flexible dieting and tracking things, the bigger your the more informed you'll be with food choices and food or nutrient content of foods. So when you go to a restaurant and you have a steak with a side of baked potato and vegetables, you'll be able to look at that and say, this is about this many grams of steak and this much grams of potato and this much grams of vegetables. So I'm just going to input that data. Given that I'm at a restaurant, I'm going to put in that I had a teaspoon or a tablespoon of oil as well, because there's probably going to be oil in the food that I just eaten. Obviously, when you start eating things like desserts and pastas, there's always going to be extra calories that you aren't aware of, just because restaurants are there to make food enjoyable and fun. They don't care what your macros are, they don't care about restricting calories or anything like that. So if I was to eat like pasta or a dessert or something, I'm just gonna probably just go on MyFitnessPal, type it in, and get the average of all of the foods that come up. So for example, if I wanted to have um, you know fettuccine, chicken and mushroom and avocado pasta, and it came up with like 5 different foods on MyFitnessPal, or more than that, and most of them were around 1,000 calories, I'd probably just select one that's quite in the middle of that. Um, and when you do select those foods, go to the macronutrient profile of that food and just make sure that it makes sense. So if you were to type in turkey, and then you select it, right? You go into the MyFitnessPal, and the nutrient content or the nutrient information says that it has like very high fat but no protein. you know that's incorrect because turkey is a high protein food, not a high fat food, even though there is some fat content in turkey as opposed to chicken or lean beef or anything like that. So really just identify that, make sure, you know, in turkey there's no carbohydrates. So if it had like a high carb number and a low protein number, you would know that's incorrect. So tracking when eating out can be tricky, but it also can be really easily managed if you want to. If you know that you're going to go out to eat and the nutrient information is on MyFitnessPal, just go ahead and put it in your MyFitnessPal at the start of the day and then work your calories or your remaining macros or calories around that meal, so you know that even if you're hungry throughout the day, or you'd like to eat, you're not going to, because you've allocated a certain amount of calories or macronutrients for that later meal, which will be more enjoyable and social, etc. So sometimes we make sacrifices like that, so life is more balanced and enjoyable, and that's not a bad thing at all. The other thing with tracking and eating out, sometimes it's okay to just completely guesstimate, like I said, and have no real idea. But tracking is always better than not tracking. And that's pretty much the answer for that one. So next question, calories and macros, they don't align up. So common issue actually. You put in your macros, you put in your calorie target in MyFitnessPal. Let's just say you bought the premium version and everything's, you know, perfect. You put in all your foods, your measurements, your macros are lining up, but your calories do not match. What do you do? So basically that just means that some of the nutrient data that you've put in is incorrect. So the foods that you've put in, either the calories and the macros for that particular food were not input into MyFitnessPal correctly, and that's why there's an issue there. Typically, if it's within 30 calories or so of your total daily goal, it's okay. So if your goal's 2,000 calories and it says that you're having 2,030 calories, that's fine. Don't even worry about it. Nothing's wrong there. If it's way off, like you're eating, it says that it's 100 calories over or anything like that, you want to go through your foods and make sure that they're all accurate and the calories and the macros make sense. If you haven't looked at the Simple Guide to Flexible Dieting, which is an ebook that's available to you to download on this page, you'll see that 1 gram of protein is 4 calories, 1 gram of carbs is 4 calories, and 1 gram of fat is 9 calories. So if your macronutrients are listed on your food, you can just count up the protein amount, times that by 4, carb amount, times that by 4, fat amount, times that by 9. That total calorie number should be the total calories that are listed on the food label on the MyFitnessPal thing. So that's how you track or cross-reference that to make sure that that is accurate. It is a very common problem though, especially with MyFitnessPal, especially because there's so many foods out there that are in the database that aren't correct. So I didn't touch on this with the MyFitnessPal explanation video, but there is a barcode scanner in there as well, where you can just select a barcode scanner and just scan the barcode of that food, and the nutrient content will come up on MyFitnessPal, which is a bit more convenient than having to search through the massive database. So that's something to think about as well. Again, I can't set custom macros on MyFitnessPal, so we addressed that. You know, the percentage-based issue where you can't set the exact grams, and you can do it, you just have to get the premium option of MyFitnessPal. So if you're someone who thinks that that is a concern to you, then just go ahead and get the premium version of MyFitnessPal. What supplements to take? Okay, so with supplements, obviously all supplements they have calories as well, so they're going to fit within your macronutrient targets. So if you choose to have fish oil, for example, you want to track that and fit that into your macros. When it comes to supplements, I definitely recommend a multivitamin. Nutritionally, I recommend to have 1 to 2 fruits per day and 200 grams plus of vegetables per day, or salads or anything like that, because that's going to provide us with vitamins and minerals. I would also give you a fiber goal in your initial email to start up this group online coaching. So you want to try to hit that fiber goal through foods that are high in fiber, like oats and sweet potato and the fruits and the vegetables and things of that nature. But it's still good to have a multivitamin anyway, just as an insurance policy, to make sure that you're getting a wide spectrum of nutrients. Sometimes, you know, we eat fruits, but we just eat the same fruit every day, right? I eat an apple every day, so that's just what I do. A vitamin supplement can just help to ensure that I get other nutrients that I don't typically get on a daily basis. Fish oil is a great one as well, so I definitely recommend having fish oil. And you can just have these supplements based on the recommended dosage on the labels. But vitamins, multivitamins, fish oil, a protein supplement is great because it's just a really convenient way to get protein in. Sometimes you may need to, you're coming to the end of your day and you may need more protein and you just don't want to eat chicken, right? Or tuna or eggs or egg whites or anything like that, especially if it's late in the evening. It's so convenient to just have a protein powder, which is what I typically do. I start my day with protein powder as well in some sort of meal with oats or something, or just by itself if I'm busy and I'm on the go. So protein powder is a great, just convenient source of protein. Then we have pre-workouts. So with pre-workouts, there's a lot of pre-workouts on the market these days, and a lot of pre-workouts come and go, and they're mostly based on marketing hype. So the goal of a pre-workout is to obviously improve your mental focus, energy, clarity for training, etc. And a lot of companies and supplements come out that are very effective but also very high in stimulants, and then they get taken off the market because they're too strong. In my personal opinion, I think caffeine is perfectly fine, and that's pretty much all you really need to get that real good push. So that could be in the form of, a black coffee. You could have just caffeine, like you could have guarana tablets. You could have NoDoz, which is just pure caffeine with some vitamin B. I think Barocca might have caffeine in it, maybe, but it's vitamin B as well, which is a good energy booster. But then you've got your pre-workout supplements, and one that's got caffeine in it and taurine is great with beta-alanine as well. That would be a great choice. And that is pretty much it for supplements, to be honest. Multivitamin, fish oil, protein, and a pre-workout is optional. I guess I could talk about creatine as well. So creatine is really good to help performance, recovery, and strength as well. So creatine monohydrate is actually going to increase your lean body mass on an index scale. So if you were to get a body composition test, your weight might be up, but that will be reflective of more lean tissue, not more body fat, and that's because creatine pulls water into your muscle and helps to recover and replenish your muscles, basically. So with creatine stores, creatine's naturally occurring in the body, so you make it every day anyway. You can also get it from red meat as well. And creatine is effective for females, although years ago they thought that it wasn't. So creatine is something that you could take as well. It's very, very cheap these days, so it wouldn't hurt to add that to your supplements. There's a wide range of supplements out there. You could take a green tea product. You could take, a fat burning product. You could take a nighttime product to help you to sleep. There's so many things out there, and all of that stuff is totally optional. It's based on you. If something makes you feel better, it makes you work harder, it makes you more consistent, go ahead and make it part of your program, and that would be perfectly fine. Okay. Eating carbs at night. Eating carbs at night is completely fine, no problem at all, as long as it fits within your macros. So that's pretty much. People say to me, are you sure I can eat carbs at night? You definitely can, most definitely can. And if you want to experiment, save all your carbs for nighttime. Eat all of them at nighttime. You'll go to bed feeling very full and bloated and uncomfortable. You'll wake up looking normal. The scale might be a little bit higher than it was the previous day, but that'll just even out throughout the day as you're more active, throughout your day rather than while you're sleeping. But you can almost always go to sleep on a full stomach and wake up looking quite good. So do not fear carbs at night. However, it would be smart to have your carbs before training, during times where energy is required. It's just a smarter time to do it. So that's what I would do with that. Sodium intake. So is there a concern with sodium intake? Sodium should be, try to keep sodium and water. I'll touch on water as well. Your sodium and your hydration, they should be consistent on a daily basis. If you were to have no salt in your diet at all, let's just say you're taking a clean eating approach where there's like no salt in your diet, you're not salting any foods or anything like that. The moment that you do add salt to your diet, your hormones are going to react to that and you're going to retain fluid. Now, retaining fluid would only last for about a day or two if you kept that salt in there every day. It only lasts for a day or two and then it would subside and everything would be okay again. A lot of the time people have no salt, then they have a bunch of salt in one meal, fast food, whatever it might be, put on fluid, then they cut the salt back out to drop that weight again. it would be very wise to keep salt in your diet so your body gets accustomed to it. So when you do eat out or you have salty meals, your body's not gonna react like that. It's just gonna be accustomed to it. It's gonna know how to deal with a high sodium environment, and everything's gonna be fine. You're not gonna retain fluid. So definitely sodium's fine to take, and I would salt probably at least 2 meals per day on average. The more often you salt your food, probably the better. It depends on how consistent you are with food choices. If you eat the same foods most of the time and they're very low in sodium, I would salt your meals. If you're all over the place and one day you have a very salty meal, the next day you don't, your weight could fluctuate and that could just cause a bit of concern. You may think that you're not losing body fat because you're retaining fluid, and that's just like a consistency issue, which is why I say try to salt your foods every day. Try to keep your water intake kind of consistent as well. And then when it comes to water intake, it would be smart to have enough water that you're never really thirsty. You're not thinking, where's my water bottle, I need a drink. So just trying to keep that water flow, that intake flowing. And on a side note, it would be you don't want to drink so much that it affects your day or your schedule or your lifestyle, but you do want to drink enough that when you go to the bathroom, you urinate clear. So your pee is clear basically, and that just shows that you have an adequate amount of hydration. And that would be like 5 times per day you'd want it to be clear. That just shows that everything's consistent and everything's good. If you have a vitamin supplement, that's going to cause that to not be clear at the start of the day, just so you know. Okay, if you're extra active, so let's just say I gave you your macronutrient goals, and then you decided tomorrow that you're going to run a marathon, or you're going to start a new job, or you're going to do something that's completely off the plans. The macronutrient targets are the initial goals based on your goal body weight and your activity levels, etc., etc. So that's changing your lifestyle is going to be a variable. It's going to adjust things. So a lot of people will say, hey, do I need to change my macros because I'm changing my lifestyle? You most likely do, but you don't need to panic and do it immediately. It's perfectly fine for you to be more active tomorrow and the next day and the next day, and then you may be less active, a couple of days later, and things will just balance themselves out. So what I say is just continue with your macronutrient targets until it's been, that 7-day point or that 14-day point where you want to really look at things and decide whether you're progressing or not. Then make an adjustment, because if you're making adjustments on a daily basis based on how active you are, it's going to be too overwhelming and you're not going to really enjoy the process at all. So just keep it consistent and don't stress out. Do I have to track forever? Do I have to track my macronutrient goals forever? No, you definitely do not. So the idea behind tracking macros is to increase nutritional awareness, understanding the nutrient content of foods, and being able to be empowered by going out and living a less restrictive lifestyle and still being able to enjoy life, social events, etc., and not feel like you're destroying your health and your fitness goals in the process. So tracking macros will really help you to learn the nutrient content of foods, obviously, and it'll get you to your goal because you're structured in a sense where you're limited to a certain calorie intake, which is going to ensure that you progress, right? So you don't have to track forever. Once you've tracked for at least, I would say, at least 8 to 10 weeks, you have a really good idea of looking at foods and just being able to say, yep, that's about this many grams, that's about that much, this much, and that much. And when you do weigh it, it's quite close. So it takes a little while to be able to do that, but the more you're tracking every day, the more smarter you're going to be in that regard, and the easier it will become. I personally do not track on a daily basis, although being a coach, sometimes I do it just to encourage my clients. I currently do not track because I'm currently happy with how my physique is progressing. Given that I've been training for 12 years now, I'm not looking to drop any weight, and I'm not looking to gain a bunch of weight, because if I was to gain a lot of weight, most of it's going to be body fat. Just given my training age, progress is quite slow. So I focus on performance improvements rather than body fat or body weight changes. If I'm getting stronger, then I'm leaning towards more muscle. So that's kind of how I do things. So right now I have a protein target for sure, and I do have a calorie target, but it's a range, so I don't have a set target. It's just more of a range, and I just let my macros fit in wherever they do. I do not track every day. I just track whenever I feel like it's going to help my clients to be a bit more accountable. But I also track if I have an event coming up, if I need to lose a little bit of weight, if I notice that I'm not looking as good in the mirror anymore, or anything like that, or I feel run down, then I'll start tracking to make sure that I'm eating enough or that I'm not eating too much, etc. So you do not have to track forever, and the idea is to track consistently, understand nutrient information or content, and then start to track less often, but still be aware of things and be mindful, and then move over to that complete 100% mindful approach of just, I know what I'm doing, I look great, I can assess my eating based on how I'm looking and feeling on a daily or weekly basis. And that's the ultimate goal, and you can definitely get there. However, I would say that tracking macros can become just a positive habit. So even when you do know that you're doing everything right, sometimes you can just get out your phone and track just so you know that it's there and everything's on point. And it doesn't really take much time out of your day, because it's just something that you'll start now, and then it will just be something that you've done like long term down the road. So I've been tracking macros on MyFitnessPal for about 3 or 4 years now, and I still do it for the most part, not every day, but I still do it for the most part, and I don't feel like it's hindering my day or anything like that. So at the beginning you may feel like, oh, do I have to do this forever? But trust me, once you see the results and progress and realize that, hey, I can go have a slice of pizza tomorrow if I want to and still look and feel great, then you'll realize the benefits of doing so. Okay, exercise selection changes. So obviously there's a training program with this 12-week online group coaching system or program. So every 4 weeks the programming is going to change, the exercise selection is going to change. Now the exercise program is based on the goal-oriented program. So it's a goal-oriented program, I should say. So it's based on the goal of a lean bikini body, or a booty building physique, more of a muscular physique or more of a bikini looking physique. And obviously with the bikini looking physique you can still build muscle and shape up a lot more, and with the booty building program you can still get leaner and look like you could wear a bikini. They do correlate in a sense, but some of you may look at the program and say, I can't do these exercises, I have a bad back, I have a bad knee, and my physio said this or that, I don't have this equipment at my gym, whatever the case may be. Now with the system with the program that you signed up for, the program is the program. So everyone's using the same program, and when it comes to personal considerations, what we need to do, or what you need to do, is find alternatives to that exercise. So if you're unable to complete a certain exercise because of an injury or an issue, most likely you've got instructions from a physiotherapist or a GP that will tell you what your limitations are and give you ideas for alternatives, and that's the best approach for you right now, and that's what I would suggest doing. Alternatively, if you just don't have access to certain equipment, the idea behind training is movement patterns. So if you don't have access to a squat or power rack to do back squats, you're still able to get that same movement pattern by holding a dumbbell in front of you and doing a goblet squat, or having a Smith machine and doing a Smith machine squat, or having a hack squat and doing a hack squat, or a V squat machine, or anything of a squatting nature. The movement pattern is the same, with an overload in front of you or behind you, ideally behind you if it's a back squat. So you need to find ways to implement the training program to best suit your personal preferences, or your limitations, I should say. If you're unable to do exercises that, for a bikini body, for example, you can't do plyometric work because of the impact that it might be on your knee or your ankle or whatever injury you might have, you might have to look at alternatives such as the high intensity interval training program that's within your program, and choose the bike method where there is no impact and you're just cycling, so there's no hard impact with the ground. You might also look at the circuit and say, okay, well, I can't do jump squats or anything like that, but I can probably do a wall sit and do that, or I can probably do squats onto a chair or a bench and then do those instead. So just find ways to make it suit you. At the end of the day, your training needs to be effective, but it also needs to be fun, and you need to be able to complete it. And if you've got injuries, then obviously there's concerns there and you don't want to aggravate them, but at the same time you don't want to find excuses as to why you can't do anything at all. So touching on the exercise selection, if you watch all the videos of the exercise technique videos that I've put on this page, I went through YouTube to make this really easy. I went through YouTube and I found the best video that I felt corresponded with what I would like you to do when it comes to exercise technique for each exercise. So definitely watch those exercise videos, because I've gone through a ton of videos to ensure that those videos are relevant to what I want you to do. So that's going to really help you in regards to exercise technique, and it's going to ensure that you're on the right page with everything that you're doing. If you have any questions about exercise technique, if you have any concerns, if you really can't figure anything out in terms of exercise and your limitations, definitely just utilize the Facebook group, and I'll be sure to jump on there and give you some advice, again, which will help yourself and everybody else. Fasted cardio. Should I do fasted cardio? Cardio can be done fasted or fed. It makes no difference at all. If you were to wake up and do cardio for a half an hour today before eating, you will burn more you'll burn more body fat during that process compared to if you ate and then you did that cardio. So I know I just said it makes no difference, right? But on paper, well, that just sounds like fasted cardio is going to be the ideal approach. The thing is though, because we track your calorie intake and we're creating a calorie deficit through, if you're looking to drop body fat through the diet and the training, it doesn't matter when you eat and when you don't eat. Just because you burn more fat on a fasted walk doesn't mean that you're going to burn more fat in the 24-hour period that you're awake. So don't worry about that. Sometimes fed cardio is better because you have more energy, you're able to function better, especially if you were to do like higher intensity cardio. But doing fasted cardio, in my opinion, there's nothing wrong with it at all, and you can definitely go ahead and do so. Occasionally I will do it to walk my dog or something like that, and I feel a bit lighter and just feel comfortable doing so. Doing cardio fasted first thing in the morning it's also a wise thing, just because it's before you actually really start your day. So if you can get that out of the way, it's kind of something you don't have to worry about later in the day. Chances are though you won't have to do too much cardio within this programming, because I haven't really assigned too much to you guys, so hopefully you won't be in a position where you need to add more cardio. But if you feel like you want to add more cardio to your program just because you enjoy it, then you can definitely do that, and then and it might even help you, towards your goals of fat loss. Extra exercise / cardio, which is what I just touched on. Actually, that was the last point. So are you able to do extra exercise? Are you able to play touch football and go dancing and play your sports and etc.? Of course you can. That's life. This is not going to control your life. This is something to help your life. So you can definitely keep doing everything you're doing. If you want to pick up a new sport, or you want to do some group fitness classes, or you want to go out and do some CrossFit stuff even, that's perfectly fine. Just add it to what you're doing, and just self-assess, because if you feel like you're doing too much and you're fatigued, some of you may consider just increasing your food intake and your recovery, as in your rest time, to be able to manage that. Some of you may decide to pull out some of your exercise. So it's a bit of a self-assessment type thing, but adding more exercise is totally fine. However, it's not something that needs to be done. The program is definitely designed to get the best out of you, and anything you do extra is just because it's fun more than anything. So that's about it. I think that I've covered all the major questions, and going on to 30 minutes now, so I'm sure you're sick of hearing me, and I'm not even speaking properly anymore. So that's all I have to say about that. So I'll speak to you guys soon. Also, one last thing, on this page, below this video, it says, if you need more support, the Facebook group is definitely there. Speak to us in the Facebook group. We can all communicate there. But below that, it also says one-on-one coaching call. So what that is, if you feel like you need additional support, more time, more personal touch, like my personal online coaching service, then I do have a coaching call option that you could take. So a coaching call is basically an hour on the phone or on Skype with me, discussing anything you'd like, whether it's personalized programming changing, whether you really need some definite help with nutrition or understanding a certain protocol or anything like that. And basically, for the most part, our communication will all be in the Facebook group. But if you feel like you need a little bit more hands-on support, then you can definitely choose to take that on and take that option, and make the most of that hour with me. So that's it, guys. All the best in your challenge, and I'll speak to you soon.